You ready for this?
Yeah, man.
Hello, my name is William Burnett, and I'm sitting here with Matt McDermott, and you're watching Talk Video. What's up, man? How's it going?
Oh, it's going well. It's good to be here. I've been excited about this project, and I like talking to you. It's strange.
Usually you're the one asking the questions.
That's true. I kind of have a problem with that. Like when the few times I've been in an instance, like on like a radio show or something where somebody's trying to ask me questions, I like quickly do some kind of mental judo.
You switch to interview mode.
Yeah, I'm going to try to avoid that in this instance.
It's okay. You can do that if you want, but I'll just direct it the other way, hopefully. So a little introduction. Mr. McDermott, this show for those if this is your first episode tuning in, it's called Talk Video. It's a video podcast, and it's about music or some sort of a whatever's going on. And there's not even a name for whatever the scene is now. Your position at this point it's been a long road, and you've been involved in many facets along the way, and but right now you're a writer, and that's at a big establishment. You're a writer for Resident Advisor, and that's your main daily activity. You're also playing in a band. You're the keyboard player for a folk singer named Jessica Pratt.
That's correct.
And you're traveling around. You're reviewing music, and you're checking stuff out. And you're also, when they let you get to go on tour, and you're the backup band.
That's exactly correct. I didn't even know you knew all that. So
yeah, man.
Yeah.
I go deep, and
yeah.
So we're gonna go. I don't think did I even give you the link? Have you seen one of these before?
I haven't seen.
No, I didn't.
I've seen the preview. That's it.
Oh, I should have sent you a link, because usually what I do is I go back and I talk, kind of figure out your history, like what tapes you were buying at the mall and stuff like that, and go from there, and then kind of whatever direction happens, and then at the end you get drunk, and then you're like, oh, what am I talking about? So,
perfect.
So that's what. So you're a Jersey, right?
Actually, suburbs of Philadelphia.
Philly.
Yeah.
But they're very
South
similar,
Jersey.
right?
Yeah, they are. Like, I mean, anywhere where there's a Wawa, anywhere where it's called a hoagie, anywhere where like kind of like a blue collar underdogism,
like Mike Vallely.
Oh yeah,
Vallely.
Yeah, but he's a California guy, isn't he?
No, man.
No, he's the East Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't. That's what I picture. I was gonna say Bruce Springsteen, but that doesn't even work at all.
I think that totally works. I mean, I think that Springsteen was a massive enough figure that anybody who had anything to do with Jersey, at least like partially modeled their personality after the boss. And I mean, are you a fan?
I don't know. I don't mind it. I tried. There's like that one record. What is it? The River. What's it called? Is that the one?
The one that people talk about is Nebraska.
Yeah, that's it. And it's the one they're like, oh, he was recording it next to Suicide, and it sounds like Suicide. And I tried to listen to it a bunch of times, but the last time I heard it, I think it was in a skateboard video or something, and I heard it again, and I was like, oh, all right, maybe I'll try it again. Like, sometimes it takes me a while.
No, understood. There's actually a funny story about Suicide and the boss that maybe you might be aware of. You probably are, but when his cover of Dream Baby Dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, you a fan of that cover?
I don't know.
Well, it's pretty.
It's a little Elvis or something.
It is, but I think Martin Rev said that's the biggest honor I've ever had in my life.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that Springsteen covered the tune, and yeah, it was nice.
So that's where you're from, New Jersey. Sorry.
No, man. Asbury Park.
No, but you're from outside of Philly.
Yeah, I grew up in a little town called Havertown, and it was the closest thing to like. It was a staunchly middle class kind of Catholic
private
suburb. Yeah, I ended up going to a private Christian school actually.
Sweet. Is it all boys?
It was not all boys. It was co-ed, but
Ooh.
like fairly. Yeah, it was pretty sexy. But
Now, do you have to wear uniforms?
there was a dress code, so like you'd have to tuck in your shirt. I was like, I had like a bit of a row with the administration over the length of my hair. It couldn't go past your collar.
Or cover your ears?
It could, yeah, it couldn't
It's like,
cover your
it's
ears.
like the
That's
swimming
right.
pool rules.
Yeah, yeah, you know. Did you also go to?
No.
Okay.
It's the exactly the same rules to go into a swimming pool. Like if you have to wear a cap or not.
Oh, really?
Maybe that's what they were going by.
Yeah, maybe they were going by swimming rules.
Because they knew you were going to get in the pool.
Yeah, totally.
No.
But
did you have brothers and sisters?
I had two brothers. Tying back to the sort of like religious upraising, I have two younger brothers. Their names are Mark and Luke. So it's Matthew, Mark, and Luke.
Holy jeez.
In order of the Gospels.
Holy Jesus.
I don't know if you've observed like me attempting to be like a Christ-like personality, but that's where it's from. Yeah.
Interesting. No, I mean, I think that's a pretty, there's like the Irish Catholic Philly kind of thing.
Totally.
It's a real deal.
Yeah. Yeah, you know about it.
A little bit, not that much.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we didn't have that where I'm from.
Yeah, yeah, understood.
So what I mean, so this is general. You had these general, like elementary school, like get beat up and
Yeah,
fighting with your brothers over your remote control or whatever toys.
stupid thing.
Do you remember a point where like music became an interesting thing in your life, or where it was like you're like realized it was cool, or you were into it?
Yeah, I was always interested in music, and we always had a piano in my house, and I think that my mother's Asian, and that means that
General Asian.
she's Taiwanese.
Okay.
She moved from Taiwan to the suburbs of Philadelphia to study computer science in like 1975. She had like $20 in her pocket
So
when
how
she
she was
arrived.
20 or something when she moved? Or?
Yeah, about that.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And but yeah, I guess I was like messing around with like a Disney melody
Mhm.
on the piano, and she's like, "Oh, we got to get this kid in piano lessons."
We figured him out.
Yeah. So, but then became that. Then that like started this long period where I was forced to practice like an hour a day,
Oh, that's good, though.
and it would be,
She was getting you to that 10,000 hours.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. But it was like the source of like stress. It's like,
Has she seen you play?
yeah, she has.
What'd she say? Was it weird?
Yeah, she came to the Philadelphia show that we played recently, and I think she enjoyed it. I mean, I don't know if they connect it to that. Like, I don't know if it's the same for you, but with your parents, like, the idea of being really into music, at least in like a free sense, like you're not trying to be like a concert violinist or something. It's always like, oh, that's like a terrible fucking idea, Like you're into like records and nightlife and like
Get a job.
yeah, exactly. So it's been like a long journey through that to like, oh, you're actually like like cobbling together a living doing
Is your
things
dad
you
is
like.
your dad conservative too, or?
He's conservative. He reads the New Yorker these days and the Atlantic, so he's gotten like less conservative as time has gone on. But if you had to put my mother into some sort of cliche, like it would be like she's like a tiger mother, like like you gotta. What's the point of doing it if you're not fulfilling your potential?
I'm all for that too.
Yeah. Is that how you would be if you were a father?
I'd be a tiger mom too.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I mean I was for those, I guess I probably said this. I was a swim coach for a long time, and that was one of the things I said. Like, if you're gonna be here, you may as well, make the most of your time. Otherwise, we're just leave. Like, what's the point? So I understand that point of view. Like, if you're gonna do it, try. Otherwise, you're just
Yeah.
waste. I mean, this goes back. One of my friends the other day said, he's also, I think his family's also Taiwanese, and he was saying that his brother told him the other day that you're either, there's two states of being, you're either bored or you're suffering. And I've been thinking about it a lot, and it's kind of true. So I don't know, but so as a kid, your mom made you do piano lessons, and was that you were trying to play? You said a Disney song,
Yeah, I was trying to pick out some kind of Disney song. I obviously don't remember
and
it.
you're like 7 or 8.
Five.
Oh,
Five?
really little,
Yeah,
really little.
small.
And so you're so little bitty kid, piano lessons with what do you remember your teacher?
Yeah. I eventually was enrolled in this like, it was called the Nellie Berman School of Music, and it was these like Russian Jewish women who were like just as tough but also like nurturing as my mother was, and it was just like this odd relationship where, you know, it was just like no slouch style, you know, where it's like you know, there were kids in there who were just virtuosic, and I was just trying to like get by, but they would know very quickly if I hadn't put in the work. And so played classical. I've never been like as nervous to perform music in my life as in a classical recital. And eventually, just to skip forward so we're not dwelling on this small moment, even though it was like elementary and middle school, I decided that I wanted to try to play jazz because I thought that would be more relaxed. And at that point, I like got into like Bill Evans and like.
And what is this? Is like 12, 13?
Yeah, about that.
But was there? You had this piano thing with the mom. Was there any kind of like a, you know, were you buying like a Motley Crue tapes or I don't know how old you are. We're almost.
I'm 35.
35. So you're a little. You weren't buying tapes, maybe CDs.
Yeah, but for me it was like I guess like around that time it was the classic Columbia House 13 CDs. 13 CDs for
some
1 cent.
Some what is it? Ned's Atomic Dustbin or Live or something.
Yeah, it was just like a mix of like just like indefensible crap, like, you know,
just to
like,
fill up that
like
11th CD.
Yeah, like it was like, oh, I like those Blues Traveler songs on the radio. I should get that CD. But then like I actually like hit it with 1 or 2 purchases, which was like the Trainspotting soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like but that has like Brian Eno,
Yeah.
Pulp, Underworld, like that one's actually Lou Reed, like that.
You can still listen to it to this day. Iggy Pop, right?
Yeah, that's a strong soundtrack. And you know, if it was the internet era, I probably would have like found some wormholes to follow there. But to be honest, like the cool bands I was into in high school were like something like Big Star, which I found through like Wilco covering one of their songs, or just like very early like Napster days. I didn't really like fully start to participate in any kind of DIY culture.
So time frame, this is like late 90s?
Yeah, this is like
or
99, 2000.
Into 2000.
Yeah. And then 2001 I went out to school in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
So your childhood, there's not, I mean, the piano thing, it was just kind of a regular. You weren't like going to punk rock shows or
No, I didn't really
taking ecstasy and going to raves.
I was just like had like a really boring suburban existence.
You weren't aware of like Josh Wink or something like that.
No. I mean, I guess no. I was aware of 611 Records, and
you were like, "What is all this stuff?"
Yeah, and I was like, oh, like
raver stuff.
Like, what is acid jazz? You know, that sounds kind of cool. What is that?
And then
like
you listen to it, and it sucks.
Yeah, exactly. but like 611, like I mean, Philly had like that store was serious. Did you ever go?
Yeah.
And then, but it wasn't until I moved to Pittsburgh that I really just took it upon myself.
So you went to Pittsburgh for college.
Yeah, exactly. And then like, I kind of like, I think I was into like the Strokes and like Bell and Sebastian and stuff. Yeah. They were like all like coming out.
Maybe a little Magnetic Fields.
Yeah, stuff like that. Like, or like, but then like I looked a certain way, so people thought I was like into music.
They're like, you like the Rapture.
Yeah. So they weren't out yet, but like they started inviting me to shows.
Okay.
But then like I took it upon myself, and I still remember like the first show I went to. It was like at an art gallery, and
was it Manny Telerama?
Oh, dude, I know. I have so many Manny.
Shout out to Manny Telerama.
Manny Telerama booked Will.
Did he stab you?
DJ TLR. Yeah, that's the big rumor with him is he got out a box cutter at a show that somehow like
Yeah.
traveled to.
Showing a knife.
Oh yeah, Manny and I used to drive Manny around and work the door for him.
I like him.
actually.
He seems cool, man.
And you can get along with everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean you don't like.
No, he's a freak, and I think he really contributed. You know, like whether or not he treated people, maybe did some things that weren't right, he still was a big part of the Pittsburgh scene. Like he got bands to play there.
Oh, it's
that you never would have played any other, or they might have come another way, but he was definitely involved in a lot of bands coming there.
Oh, his influence is massive, and just for a quick background here, we're speaking about a
Promoter.
infamous Pittsburgh promoter named Manny Thiner, and he's booked Will on various Creme International tours. I think the first one was maybe in 2005, but he was also responsible for the first Nirvana show in Pittsburgh, like stuff like Faust or Royal Trucks. But he has zero social graces, and he cares about sound, but he doesn't care about the cleanliness of his venue or just like any no creature comforts. And for a while he was like living in the basement of his venue, and so he's like sort of like made out to be this kind of like basement dweller music nerd figure, and like he's like a real snob. Like I remember one time I was going to see a show, and I think it was like an Animal Collective show in maybe 2003, before they had become a
household name.
Yeah, before they were just like kind of aimlessly playing acoustic guitars at the time, the Campfire Songs era, and we showed up at the concert, and he was like, "Yeah, we're here for the show," and Manny was like, "You sure?" You know, it's like classic like disdain for the audience. You know,
Gatekeeper. That's the trigger word now, right?
Yeah, I think he was a gatekeeper. You know,
we need him. I think we need him.
You know,
I'm not allowed to say that, but
yeah, the world needs gatekeepers, just like the world needs ditch diggers. That's what.
Well, I mean, whatever. You know,
Yeah.
people can, do what you got to do.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, don't go. You know,
Totally.
Who cares? So you were in Pittsburgh, and you went to every Manny Tellerama show.
I would
And
just
you drove-
start going to shows.
You started going to shows.
Yeah.
And what were you studying in college? Just
I
curious.
was
Writing.
studying English writing.
Oh, so
Yeah, and history.
history.
And I thought I was gonna I was like very attracted to the idea of like being a sort of like introspective person and trying to write fiction. That was my idea.
What, science fiction or just
kind of like
Stephen King?
No, not Stephen King. I
Mike-
guess like I would be like into like
Mark Twain.
no. Yeah, I tried to write allegorical political fiction. No, it was like introspective stuff, like a Tobias Wolff or like a Raymond Carver,
I've
or
never
like
read that.
they're just like very simple,
But those
but
are American.
impactful stories.
Okay.
Yeah, and I didn't have any. I had no business writing fiction.
Well,
at
you
the
never
time.
know until you try.
Yeah,
you know?
totally.
So why not? So you're going to these shows in 2000 between you're at school between after 9/11. You're in college in Pittsburgh,
Yeah, 9/11 happened like 6 days after I got to school.
and then was that weird there?
Yeah, it was odd. There was
'Cause
like
you were between like DC and New York.
yeah,
Or
and
both.
then there was the flight that went down in the middle of Pennsylvania
forgot
as well.
about that
Yeah,
one too.
yeah. What was that flight 403?
where was that one supposed to go? I don't remember.
I don't know, but it was like a heroic.
Oh, the crowd took over.
Yeah, that tripped me out, man. Like, especially coming from such a sheltered environment, and I was probably like just like smoking a lot of weed at the time, and probably in like a fragile mental state in general. Like, but yeah, that was weird.
But that so
I'm
that's
sure it
like
wasn't-
that's like your freshman year of high school. I mean college.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be pretty weird. So you get there and you're like, oh, everything's cool, and then oh wait, we can be attacked or something.
Totally.
So that I just want to. That's like a good time marker for me, so I can relate to years. So 2001 to 5, you're in school. You're doing English lit. you're getting good grades and going to shows. Did you start traveling much, or did you join any bands because you're this great piano player?
I started a band. It was called Harangue, and like the better parts of it were like kind of like almost sounded like synth pop with like an affected 80s kind of like almost like Joseph K. like Postcard Records type of like more twee side of post-punk kind of thing. And then the bad parts were like, that's not a song, that's just like 4 complex piano parts like kind of stitched together. And I was playing with these guys, you know, that were my friends, and that band lasted for a while actually. We put out a
Wang?
Harangue.
Harangue.
Yeah.
H-U-R-A-N-G.
Harangue. It means to like to go on a tirade.
Harangue.
Yeah. And all the bands were so heavy in Pittsburgh. Like it was like if you weren't like a loud band, it was.
And this was the time of that Zombie.
Yeah, Zombie was
and,
coming out.
What, Japanther and that stuff, or
Japanther was from New York, but that sort of feel.
Lightning Bolt, but that's Baltimore.
Lightning Bolt is Providence.
Not Providence,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah. But yeah, that sort of stuff. Like I remember
that's the time.
Yeah, I was seeing like memorable shows from that time include like Lightning Bolt, Wolf Eyes,
Wolf Eyes.
Yeah, like that sort of thing. And then everybody was really into like math rock.
But were you touring with that stuff or just playing local shows?
A few, like we would play like bigger local shows here and there, and we play like I'd try to set up a tour, and we'd play like an Ethiopian restaurant in Philadelphia, or
sounds about right.
You know, a bar that nobody was at in Akron, Ohio, or you know,
been there.
Yeah, you know, like that sort of thing.
It's good. It's formative, you know.
Yeah, you have to like. I also appreciate scenes that are still supportive, even though you fail a lot. You know, like they like.
But how is that a failure? You went to the venue, you got there, and you played.
But I mean, you're not good. So like you get years to become something approaching good in front of people.
You sound like a tiger mom.
And they still, but they still like end up. You can still convince your friends to like show up and like support you, and then eventually, like 3 or 4 years later, when you can actually like. You figure out how to make your instruments sound good and sound good as a band. It's like, but that sort of patience is cool.
Yeah, but I mean, behind every success story, they generally have a story like that. You know, like we went to Akron and played, and it sucked, and then we did it for a long time, and now we're popular.
Totally.
So I mean, it's one of the steps along the way. So harangue.
Yeah.
Harangutan.
Yeah.
Sorry. So you finished. Was like a. I know there's the 2 record stores. I can't remember. Jerry's and the Attic.
Yes.
And but they're not really. It's the same as New York. It doesn't really. There's no new records. It's like a used record kind of scene.
Yeah, that's a used record scene. There were a few stores selling new stuff at the time.
But it was kind of the downfall. That was like a
This is a weird time.
Yeah, and so were you buying music? You're not into the boom boom so much?
Yeah, at that time I was basically like I would start listening. I had this job in like a computer lab at school, so that taught me to waste like
with a
endless
T1
time.
connection.
Yeah. So I would listen to WFMU a lot.
Okay.
And I was really into like
Beats in Space.
Yeah, I got into Beats in Space, and that I was interested in the DJs that like Tim was bringing on, like Love Fingers, or like this Balearic sound.
The blog era.
Yeah, like this Balearic kind of thing, like seemed like a natural step, just because it's still like it's not just machine music. A lot of times it's like more melodic, or there's like a live bass or some live drums on it. But I remember Tim played that like Delia and Gavin remix or Carl Craig remix of
Reveille.
Yeah, the Reveille, and that was like a big track for him that he talks about, and I think he had to talk over it. But yeah, I mean, I got into like
you're like, oh wait, that's techno or something.
Yeah,
and
I was like,
it's not terrible.
Yeah, and then like I think like I was into like compact stuff like Dettinger and that sort of thing, like probably like Michael Mayer and that sort of thing. And I was interested in this because I had started to like really start to try to find out about music, and I was into like krautrock and experimental music and this sort of thing, and I knew that there was all this dance music that I would like, but I didn't really know how to go about digging for it.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you had a pretty similar path to me. I listened to a lot of indie rock and stuff. I mean, I knew about this like with Throbbing Gristle and Can, and I'm on Duel before I knew about Derek May.
Likewise,
or what, so it sounds like a similar. I was just a little bit older than you, so had a different path. Like, because by the time, whatever, late '90s, I was already like, okay, these records are cool and boom, boom, boom. So it sounds like it was a similar, suburban white boy path or whatever, like
that's it.
Or conservative family.
Yeah, man, you got me pegged.
Not really, but we'll see. So this is, you finished school. It sounds like pretty normal, and now you're like, okay, this boom 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 thing is going on, and I don't remember the first time I met you. It was around that. It was much later than that, probably 2010 or something.
Yeah, something like that.
So what you were in Pittsburgh working?
Yeah,
after school.
I was working I had like a job at a nonprofit where with like this guy who was essentially a criminal.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, and but we did some interesting stuff. Like we made a
what was his name? No, sorry.
It was
you don't have to.
But we made a documentary about like a civil and labor rights activist, and like I ended up getting really into like labor and union activism and this sort of stuff. So then I got a job at a law firm that would represent like freight car workers that got laid off from the factory in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
And with your degree in English literature and history.
They somehow let me in there,
They're like, he can use punctuation.
Yeah, exactly. Like, or he can like put stuff in a binder or something. But yeah, around then, like 2007, I was hanging out with this guy who makes records for Sonic Groove now under the name Realms, and he would just burn me CDs. And I remember one of them was like, I remember that was the era where you burned CDs, and one of them said like old with an E, old school Detroit, and then like one said like classic Chicago tracks, and he just like gave me all these CDs, and then he's like, hey, we're going to Detroit to go to the festival, and we're staying at the Shoreline.
Maybe I met you then.
Maybe briefly, man, but probably not.
Because would you stay at the...
I stayed at the Shoreline the first year I went.
What year was that? 2004?
2007.
Oh, 7.
Yeah,
No. Okay, so...
But you were doing the WT party there.
No, maybe then, but no, because I met somehow the first year I went, we stayed at the Shoreline, and next door was like Sean Rudiman and all them. But then in the same building, it was like Stinkworks and Minto, like from Down Low, and Convection was there too. And then, but like Sean was with Juwan and Kurt. And I think Tom Cox was there too. And we were all just like somehow we like all became friends. We like realized we had been on the same forums.
Oh, that's cool.
And those were like Pittsburgh dudes.
Yeah, man, tech noir audio,
yeah, and they gave me like a tech noir promo. I was like, "Oh, cool, my first promo."
Really, that was like the first 12-inch.
I don't know if it was my first promo, but it was like somebody walking at a festival give you a.
Yeah, I remember like going into their room, and for some reason there was, like, this is like one of the closest cheap hotels to the festival.
Yeah. And there's bullet holes in the curtains and stuff like that. Yeah.
But I walked into the room, and there was just like a 303 sitting there for some reason, and I had like never really seen this piece of machinery. But that year I saw like Rhythm and Sound.
2007.
Yeah, I want to say that so I saw Rhythm and Sound Mills close that one.
It wasn't one of the ones that had like Snoop Dogg or Kraftwerk or.
No, that was later when they really started to. They had like wacky stuff like Bad Boy Bill and. Like
it was before. I can't remember. I get them all mixed up. It was not free anymore though. That was like the one that like, I think I can't remember. I don't know.
It was one of the first ones they charged money for.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember.
But it was before Paxahau charged
no,
money?
Paxahau took over, I believe, that year, actually,
Yeah.
2007. I only know this because I interviewed them recently
Okay.
for my day job as a music journalist.
We're getting there.
Yeah,
Slowly.
but saw Moody Man, saw Rhythm and Sound, saw Mills,
And the guy from, you went with the dude from
Sonic Groove.
Realms.
Realms.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I sort of heard the name, but I didn't really. I don't. It doesn't.
You know, he was just like talking to me about Drexcia and stuff, and he was like a weird guy who only stayed in his house and nobody knew about him, but like Claude Young and Adam X like really liked his stuff, you know.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Like it wasn't like he's probably anyway. Appreciate you, Rob, if you're out there.
He opened the door.
Yeah,
He
totally.
unlocked the door.
And you know, people like Tom did too, just like hang out with him that weekend.
Tom
and
Cox. This is Pipecock. He's famous on the internet.
Pipecock is a famous techno internet person, a real purist.
He was a writer for a while too. Is he still writing?
He's got an interesting attitude about writing. I believe he said that feels too much like work.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
So you start to get into the Pittsburgh scene, and we mentioned a couple of people. There's like Sean Rudiman is around, and Tom Cox, and what's the other guy's name?
Jawan.
Yeah. Kurt. And was he still there? Or he
Kurt
left
Jackson. I never really hung out with Kurt. Like Aaron Clark was starting to be around. Now he's like a big deal with
and what's the other PTA guy's name? I can't.
Preslov.
Yeah, sorry.
Preslov's still a really good friend.
And they had this studio there, Machine Age was a thing.
Yeah.
And then there's this other venue that I've never been there, but was that a thing yet?
Hot Mass?
Yeah.
No, not yet. So basically, I was starting to book a lot of shows myself, like because I was like playing in a band and I was just started to help other bands out and stuff, and would set up shows. And because like I'm a bit of a probably had like a social addiction at the time, and like would just invite people. I was good at promoting shows, like I could get people out. And then like that first band broke up and I started to play with a number of people, and we released a record, and Tom Cox came to the record release show, and he's like, man, I really just want to throw parties with you. So I was like, why would I really do that? But he convinced me to start throwing things that looked more like raves with him in Pittsburgh. So this is maybe like 2010.
Okay.
And we had that group. The first one was just like a bunch of like weird bands from Pittsburgh, and then that group Blondes from here played.
Okay, I remember that.
And then the second one was Beautiful Swimmers and Protect You. And then the third one, which was my going away party, leaving from Pittsburgh, moving to LA in like 2011, was Marcellus Pittman. But at that very first party I threw, this guy came in and he was like, hey, I want you to... he really liked the party. It was cool. It was like all these different scenes came together, like techno kids, punk kids, noise people, whatever. And it was just in a punk house. It was a fun time. A guy came to that party and he had this like plan to throw a big festival called Via Festival. So I became involved as a booker of this festival. And we booked like the first year, like I think like Juan Etrix Point never played, but over the following years, like people like Moody Man, like Underground Resistance played, and it was just like
But it's a Pittsburgh festival.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it was like Fortet, like Faulty Dio, but like rappers like Big Frida, I think Dame Funk. It's like whatever was like cool around that time, 2010, 2011. It was sort of like a risk though.
But who was this guy who was just...
It was this guy named Quinn, and his partner was Lauren Goshinsky, who's also like a DJ now, and people probably know her. And then Aaron Clark, who does Hot Mass, was there too. My friend Edgar was there, and this guy Paul Fleetwood, who's also now a techno DJ. So it was like 6 of us. We tried to throw this like massive festival, the first one was supposed to happen in an old brewery, but it was like there's a beer in Pittsburgh called Iron City beer, and like they said we could use their old factory, but it's like it's a huge building, but like huge pieces of concrete were falling from the ceiling and stuff. It was like, oh, we can't do this. So we like ended up finding a movie studio at the last minute to throw it in with like multiple stages and like a big green room and stuff. But obviously it lost money, you know. Goes without saying. But it was an interesting experience, and it was like the first time I was like, oh, I guess I like booked this festival now, and like people would come from, like a journalist would come from England to come check it out.
And this is 2011 or so.
Yeah.
Or
2010.
2010.
Yeah,
2011.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you're still in Pittsburgh, and you said you mentioned that your going away party, was that before or after this festival? That was after.
That was after 2 editions of the festival.
2 editions of
Yeah.
it. So you tried 2 times. What happened? Was there a third time?
I think they actually threw like 6 or 7.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm. Maybe I can't remember it. It doesn't ring a bell.
It might have been on your radar, but it was just like nobody had ever heard of Pittsburgh, and now people talk about Pittsburgh because they have this club there, you know, and the people there are like pretty savvy at like getting out there.
But as they, I mean, there should be more places in the States to play. You know, Pittsburgh should be one on a tour. You know, like.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, touring a lot recently. It's so fun to travel around the States.
Yeah,
like.
I'm into it.
It's weird, like, and like, maybe we say that as like white guys who like can pass for driving a truck right now or something like that. But like, it's nice, like actually seeing the place where you live and understanding the makeup of your country. And like, I get really excited when I hear about like Pittsburgh or Cleveland or Chattanooga, Tennessee, or like something weird going on in Florida or Atlanta, like that. That stuff is cool, but I don't think the agents really understand like what you need to do to support those communities. And I think like, you know, yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
But so what could they do to make it better?
I just think that like I've noticed this about you, where sometimes if like the party seems cool, like you're not like, you're obviously like worried about money, but you have like a number of hustles, and if the party seems cool, the people seem in line with the way that you think about things, and you think you're going to have a good time, like you might play for half of what you normally play for or something. But when you have these bigger agencies, I think they
don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
No, I mean, yeah, so but it seems to be the solution is to not use the agents. It's, I mean, well, the problem, I think for me, the problem I saw is that the way things work in the States is not the way they work in Europe. I know some cities are trying to pretend like they do, like, you know, you can get your Miami, your SF, maybe Chicago, and your New York, but it's not the same. Like, we have landed fees, and you get your ass to the club yourself, and then you go wherever you're going to go. Like, and you take your money with you, that's it. There's none of this, like, man, baby, like, pick you up at the airport and, like, take you to dinner and then take you back to your hotel and then take you back to the club. It's crazy, you know, like, I can't even believe the treatment. It's like it's almost like offensive how DJ, it's like.
But have you been spoiled in that way before?
Yeah,
like on your European.
No, but I would rather get paid more money than be treated like that. Like, I would rather, like, I'll just handle this part myself.
Yeah.
Just give me the money. I'll take care of it. You know, like I can, you know, like, just the prime. It ends up sometimes it's really stupid. You know, it's like in London, you know, like or New York is the same. It's easier to take the train to the city to where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
It's faster. It's cheaper.
Yeah.
But they insist on your agents say you must take a car. And it costs, I don't know what they're paying, £200 or whatever it is. And then you're stuck in traffic for 2 hours when you could have paid £11 and be there in 45 minutes. It's just this. Sorry.
No, I like it.
Now.
I like it.
But in the States, you're on your own, you know. I mean, but we also don't have public transportation, you know. So it's like it's a different scene, and I think that there's a disconnect between the European agents and the way things work in the United States, and I don't know if the solution is to have American bookers or to I don't know. It's just different, and I guess by talking about it, you can try to find a solution. But so far, it's been like, you talk to your friends and you go play for your friends and you stay at their house.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the way it works. If you really want to do it and have a good time.
Well, yeah, I guess if you look at, like, you played like Golden Poodle and like.
Yeah, no, I haven't been
Salon,
there.
like,
but I've been to Salon. Yeah.
Yeah, but those places, like, people play for less money.
It's more American style.
Yeah, because it's cool.
It's a landed deal. It's like, like, oh, okay, I can give you this much money, or maybe I'll give you a little more, and you stay at this guy's house, and it's fine, But so I don't know how we got distracted on this.
We were talking about
touring.
How people should want to go to different American cities.
Yeah. So, I mean, so you organized this VF festival a couple years in a row.
Yeah.
And
playing in bands, throwing parties with Tom.
And you were appreciating that the small bands were coming and there was this small scene.
Yeah.
And you started to see how it was all working. And you had been in Pittsburgh working at this nonprofit organization
and the law firm.
Yeah. Still, and then you tried this festival and you were getting deeper into the whole festival techno stuff, and you decided to make the move to Los Angeles. Is that was there something before that we missed, or
no? It was just like basically Pittsburgh's a great place and it taught me everything I knew. But I would go to like the same bars all the time, and obviously because I was playing in a bunch of bands and booking this festival, like every time I would like walk out of my house, I'd run into somebody. And I saw this future for myself, and where I would like get drunk at the same bar and like kind of like book the same show in perpetuity. And the woman I was dating at the time was like, hey, I have this opportunity to move to California. Think about it, see what you want to do. So I thought about it. I was like, all my friends are here. I've been to California like twice in my life. I know nothing about that at all.
Do you have a driver's license?
I did.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I was like, I'm 28. If I'm gonna move, if I'm gonna like make the plunge, like I always kind of wanted to live in New York, but I think that
LA was a good choice too.
Yeah. I think that I was always scared, or I'm like a creature of habit, where if I'm not jolted out of my reality, I'll just like stay there where I'm comfortable,
and that's a scary thing somehow.
It is, yeah.
But
so
the older you get, the better it looks.
Yeah, totally.
So you just got to realize how good it is. You go screw around for a while and then get back to it.
Yeah, man.
But so you end up in LA.
End up in Silver Lake in like a little bungalow apartment. I was still like kind of like keeping my job at the law firm, but at that point my job was to like investigate foods. So I would go to the grocery store and like look at foods and see which products claimed they were all natural but actually weren't, like I was just doing weird shit. And then eventually
were there any foods that
yeah there were tons.
But what did I mean
dude, you always pick up on the strangest details to basically I can't even talk about this, it's too boring.
No, I'm totally into it.
Okay, so if a chocolate markets itself as all natural, but there's alkalized coca in the chocolate, that means that it's not technically all natural. And if I can find somebody who bought the chocolate and is willing to put their name on a lawsuit, you can sue that chocolate company.
Man, that's dark.
Yeah, dude.
But that's a weird path.
It was odd.
But I mean, so you have a boss and someone is telling you to do that. Do they believe that are they doing this to like be righteous?
No.
Or they're just looking for money?
They're just looking for money.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like only in America kind of
easy
stuff.
money,
like Wow. Clash.
Consumer.
And then generally it's cheaper for these large companies to settle out of court than it is to go through with the lawsuit.
Got it. Like my stupid trip into the grocery store could result in like $100,000 settlement. You know.
I mean that was like it goes down to like talking to John Barclay and to Francois from the lot is that if you want to shut down a business in New York, you can. You just call and complain about them every single day. You get them shut down. It's crazy, like how much power you have. Like and then like these law. Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah,
I'm glad you don't do that anymore.
I didn't find that terrible. You know, is that terrible in the sense that it stifles free enterprise?
I don't know. It just doesn't. I'm not trying to criticize what you were doing because you're just like, I don't know what I'm getting at. I got a job, you know. But this guy, what is he doing for society? Like, is that really? He's not trying to do it to benefit somebody. He's not trying to like make this chocolate safer. You know what I mean? He's just like trying to like suck money out of the system. And it's kind of the same as Wall Street or whatever. It's like where, you know, what are they really doing for? They're just making money out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's the classic argument against any kind of like finance or yeah. It's like this is not benefiting society. But you could say he's keeping. You can paint the picture.
Yeah, of course. It's just I see right through it immediately.
Yeah,
you know, so it's crazy.
What it is.
So you did. So you got up. Your Christian roots came through, and you were like, "This is awful. I'm quitting."
Yeah. No, what happened was
your mother called, and she was like, "You can't do this."
Tom Cox was like, "Hey, they told me like one of my records is up on the like the end rack at Amoeba." And I was like going to Amoeba and just like looking around. I was like collecting records at the time, and then he was like, "Yeah, you should talk to this guy Oliver. He's like the buyer there." And so I went into Amoeba one night at like 9 p.m. because it still stays open till 11. I talked with Oliver for a while, and I was like, "Hey, also I'm like looking for a job. Will you hire me?" And
I forgot you worked at Amoeba.
Yeah, so I got a job at Amoeba, and then my other job was there was this like. Because I had like a legal background, I started working for this labor lawyer who started a publication, and the publication was like about unions and strikes and like workers rising up and stuff. So I started to write for this publication every single day, and I would like go to like strikes at the airport and stuff and like interview people.
So you're like a reporter.
Yeah, so that was my first like writing job.
That's pretty cool. But so and so this is a online publication.
Correct.
It's like so you're a blogger.
Yes, I was like a blogger,
social justice blogger.
A social justice blogger, and then I do that, and then I go work at Amoeba.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so those were my first jobs in LA, and then I was like starting to go to warehouse parties and figure out how it all worked and stuff like
and
that.
so this is now 2013, 14.
This is 2012. 2012. Yeah, 2012.
2012. You're in LA working at Amoeba, which is, I mean, I guess everybody that's ever been to California has been to Amoeba.
Yeah.
Either in Berkeley, San Francisco, or Los Angeles.
Or LA. Right there in Hollywood, you know. Thrown right into it amongst the glitz and glamour.
But that's like that's one of those places that it's like pretty good to work at, you know, like Beacon's Closet or Whole Foods. They give you benefits, and it's California. You get
no, man. I made like $12 an hour.
But they didn't give you health insurance.
No. But I was also
too late for that.
Yeah, I was too late. Yeah.
Because I know in when I lived in San Francisco in the 90s, the people that worked at Amoeba, I think it was a pretty good job.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Like it's a liberal environment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I got tons of records.
Did you pay for them?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Because they got the stealing like on lockdown.
Yeah.
You're not getting a record out of there.
No.
What was the employee discount? I'm curious.
I think it was like 30% on used.
30% on used.
20% on new.
Did you get to mark them? You like mark that record cheap?
Sometimes
there were some schemes.
There was like there once in a while. I mean, Amoeba's weird in that at the time there was so much volume going through where you could get like a ton of records that are like $50 records. I was getting for like $3 or something at the time, and I think that when it opened, it was even more like that.
I'm sure that's kind of the typical record culture.
Yeah, I don't like when people talk about a record they bought and they're like, yeah, I got this for $5, you know?
I'm like, yeah, boy, how much scheming did you do to get it for $5? So you're at Amoeba, but Amoeba in Los Angeles, it's a weird store to me. I'm not, there's no listening stations.
Yeah.
For me, it's really like been a deal breaker since, when I was in San Francisco, I was like, okay, I'll just go to Open Mind because I can listen to it. And it's weird. Did they, maybe there was like CD listening stations at one point.
You have a really good memory.
But
there were like CD scanning listening stations where you could scan it and listen to like through some weird internal network. And you know, you can go in there and like, what I do is I just go in with like earbuds in and listen to YouTube.
Yeah, but that's fucking takes forever.
Yeah, man, it does. But when I worked there,
But that's one of the weird things where records are faster, like skipping. You can
Yeah.
skip through
Yeah, that's true. That's like that is a weird thing where like analog is
faster still.
Yeah.
You can just put the thing on. I can listen to the record faster than you can pull it up on YouTube.
Yeah,
like
totally.
I don't know. Well, sorry. All right, that's my Amoeba complaint. I'm gonna put it out there every time. And that tape, why they tape it so much, man?
That's annoying.
And like then I just cut the jacket, the plate. I end up cutting it off. You can't peel that stuff off. You guys, listen up, come on. But they're not gonna change, you know. I feel like it goes back to like Berkeley, you know, and like people were like stealing records, like, and they like kept the policy. They like never changed.
They came up with a way to make it almost impossible to open the record without slicing the jacket.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So you worked at Amoeba, and you worked at this other weird reporter. That's your writing job.
Yes.
And 2012.
Yeah.
In Los Angeles, California, living in Silver Lake.
I'm still pretty naive at that time.
But, was Mount Analog open yet?
No,
or it just opened?
Mount Analog opened, I think, in 2014.
So I don't remember what the scene. When I go, I went there a couple times, and we would like play at the Echo or like some weird, I don't know. And then there was like a weird lull, and then all of a sudden it was like downtown rave warehouse parties. I don't know when exactly that started.
There were a couple things going on. I remember like 2 weeks after moving to town, I kind of found Dub Lab and started listening to shows.
Oh, yeah.
And then Paul T and the Harvey Sarcastic Disco
that's been
parties were huge. Like I remember a week after arriving, there was a Harvey party, and I couldn't find the address. There was an info line, but they
wouldn't give it to you here.
Yeah, I couldn't find it. So that was like, okay, I'm in a new place. I don't know shit. But yeah, at that party, they could announce it like a week out, and like 1,500 people would show up at some odd warehouse. There was like a place called Music for Dancers, which was like kind of based off of like Klipsch, like loft style, like really long sets, like all night stuff. I would go there a lot when I moved to town, and then I was like, well, I threw parties in Pittsburgh. I put together a festival in Pittsburgh. I'm gonna like start throwing a party here. So I got together with like a few people, and we planned our first warehouse party, and we had Andres from Detroit play, and Delroy Edwards play. His record had just come out on Lies, I think. That was 2012, early 2013. But yeah, he lived in town, and it was good because I like met everybody who was buying records at the record store and stuff. But then, I promoted this party, and like we sold like 100 tickets in advance, and all these people were going to come, and then it got shut down. And so we managed to like move the party. Like the Vice squad came, and they lectured me, and they spoke with me, and then we managed to move the party to an alternate, super grimy location, and Brandon Delroy and Andre still played, and it still went off, but like we lost some money on that party, but it was like it was a real trial by fire, you know, because like
there's a lot. I feel like a lot of those I'm not from LA. I've only played a few of those parties, but I've noticed that those security guards are cops, like for sure. Like every security guard at those rave parties is a cop.
They're either a cop or they're like a criminal.
Cop.
Yeah, like one or the other. Yeah, people have some issues with that. Like it.
No, I don't. I just. But so you either need to have the in with the cop or the in with the criminal circuit. I mean, I remember one like I played with like Junior and those guys.
Oh yeah.
And
Was that like
I don't know what
Sunny Side Up or
some weird place like on like in Fifth Street or some sports bar or something.
Oh, it was Sunny Side Up.
Yeah, and
the
it was
5-star bar.
5-star bar. I think that's what it was. And like the security guard definitely like had a gun on him and was like.
Those guys have an interesting thing.
Yeah, but that was one of the best parties I've ever played in LA. Like.
Yeah, I mean that party is sick.
Yeah.
Like those guys are.
Because they have a real history and roots, and they kind of don't really change with the trends. They're just doing their thing.
Well, they don't charge over $10,
Yeah.
and they had a weird thing worked out with the 5-star bar where they could just lock the door.
Yeah, that's what happened.
And like you just play all night. They all have crazy collections.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool because like I don't even remember who hooked me up. I can't remember how I got. Oh,
was it Andrew?
No, Dan. Oh my God, I can't remember. Dan is his name, but Vietnamese guy.
Dewey?
No.
Dan?
No.
Oh, you're thinking of Quan.
Quan Dam.
Yeah.
Quan Dam. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
He told me, he's like, play for these guys, and I was like, okay. And then I get there and they're like dressed like the Lost Boys, you know, they're wearing like overcoats and like sunglasses and like 90s, like, and this is like whatever 2013 or 12, same time kind of. And I was like, what is going on? And then you go up and it's like full sound system with like rotary mixers and like, you're like, all right, this is cool. And then they were like, man, you sound like Danny Tenaglia. And I was like, is that a compliment? And I was like, yeah. Or I didn't even know. It was like just some other. It was a cool. That's what I really like about LA, and it's cool that you went there and entered this scene. You know, it's like a fantasy land. I mean, I don't even.
It's weird.
It's a weird place.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, like, just even the places where they throw parties, it's odd. Like, how do you navigate that?
And like nobody cares. Like everybody's like got it good. Like even if you're dirt poor and like live in a shitty apartment, your life is still pretty easy. You can still like eat organic avocados and juice, you know, or like
your quality of life is high. It's funny because like one time I went to a party with Quan and I think he might have imbibed in something that night, but
no way.
We gave him a ride.
He's
home.
great, man. I really like
he's
that guy.
great. He's like knows about, and he was sitting on the couch where I lived with my ex-girlfriend, and she was like, is he going to bed? What's he doing? And he was just sitting out on the couch on the futon listening to one of your tracks.
That's weird.
Yeah, and he was just having a party for one, man.
He's great. He's a good dude.
Yeah, he's good.
But he like, I don't know, he's one of those people that kind of like hooked me up. He just was like, dude,
he's a
go
fan,
go
man.
here, go hook up with this dude. And like,
yeah, but that's the thing. That's what you need to know about LA, like where at least at that time you had to like have a connect to somebody or like something like that, or and yeah, like you could play a warehouse party that's the best party of your life, or you can play one that's somewhat not very memorable. Yeah, but we ended up throwing 12 more of those parties, so we eventually like figured
what was
out.
the name of it?
That was called States of Being.
States of Being.
Yeah, we had like but at the time it was a little bit easier. Like we had like Prosumer's first show in LA, Casamos's first performance in LA.
Because people weren't really going. LA wasn't really a thing
Yeah.
yet.
Now it is.
Yeah.
Now like I wouldn't even know what to book. And then Mount Analog came in and they booked you and Bo and Trax and Veronica and like all these people. Like they were booking like dream record store nerd lineups in warehouses, like Hieroglyphic Being playing records backwards at 2-3 a.m. and then it just went crazy, you know.
So that was a good time period for LA. It was pretty free, and it was also kind of a new. You see the things and you say that, you know, these people like Junior and the Harvey, like the rave thing was there, but this was like a new era kind of. There's no name for it, you know, like before you had like Electro Clash or the, you know, house or whatever, techno now, and there's not really a name for what was going on now, but this like Mount Analog and what you were doing, there was like a scene. And but the cool thing is it was pretty open because like even things like Brian Shimkowitz, like Awesome Taste from Africa, was kind of around, and this was a little bit different, but he was accepted. And then I remember seeing people like Stephen Warwick, what's his thing called? Heat Sick would come around, and the art people would start coming.
Yeah.
And then people like Eddie Richet, like Secret Circuit, and like Tom of England, and those guys, and then even art kind of guys and dub lab guys. It was a cool scene. It was a good mix.
Yeah.
And there would be like, the gangsters from the neighborhood would show up and, sell some drugs, whatever. It was a cool time. And so you kind of coasted. You did your LA, you coasted for a while.
Yeah, man. I was in there. The labor lawyer eventually got tired of pouring money into that weird publication I worked for. So then our friend Brian Foote asked if I wanted to start helping him out, like running some labels, doing some PR.
I should have him on the podcast.
Oh, he'd be terrific. That guy.
He's probably got some good stories.
Yeah, he's got this one story about I'll let him.
Brian Foote. I just saw he just put out a LP today.
LP is announced today.
Leech.
That's Leech.
Leech.
Yeah. Shout out to Leech. When we threw a party at his loft where you met him.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, like we had a Fitzsiegel.
He used to live in. Yeah, he didn't always live in Highland Park.
Mm-hmm. Glassell Park.
Glassell. Sorry.
We had a Fitzsiegel and Bookworms play his
loft.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
I forgot about that. But yeah, so you started Brian Foote. Hello, Brian.
Yeah.
You started working for him,
doing PR, and my first job was to look up any music journalist or editor that I knew.
So so a little background on Brian Foote. He's the label manager for Cranky.
Yeah.
And he also does some PR on the side for stuff.
Yeah, mostly like experimental or dance acts, and he runs like a sort of boutique-y label with our friend Brian Paul called Peak Oil.
You know his real last name?
I sure do. Should we say it here?
Sutherland.
Ooh, dude.
Sorry.
Hi, Brian.
Shots fired.
Yeah, I love it.
Did his wife take his or did they get married?
They got married, man.
Does she have his last name?
I don't know.
Is she a Sutherland?
I don't think.
I'm gonna ask.
I don't think she is. Yeah, but basically, to give you a little background, Brian's a guy from Wisconsin. He was a skater turned like
raver,
turned like kind of. He wanted to be like kind of like the Happy Mondays and have like a shoegaze band playing at the rave.
Wisconsin at the time had this like drop bass network scene, which is pretty
heady,
serious.
Yeah,
and it's also this weird scene like you go to DMF and you see all these like white techno dudes from Iowa. It's that scene, and they know every single techno record. Like they know way more than anybody ever. It's crazy.
Yeah,
and like that's where what Wisconsin or
Wisconsin.
That's I mean, I can't imagine in the '90s Wisconsin.
Yeah, I think Minneapolis was involved too.
It's not what you think of when you think of techno, But it was huge there, or not huge, but there was definitely an informed scene.
Yeah, I mean there were records coming out too, like the Woody McBride and like stuff like that.
Yeah, Adam X was on there too.
Yeah, he had record on Drop Bass Network.
Yeah.
But yeah, Brian came out of this. He moved to Chicago, started working for Cranky, legendary ambient leaning label, experimental label. Moved to LA.
LaBradford.
We bonded over liking Moody Man and stuff like that. He brought me in. I hit up all these people that I used to know. I hit up this guy.
You told me before, but I forgot now. You were looking up every single label owner, you said, or
no, any music journalist.
Journalist.
And so when I through the festival, like journalists from like Dummy and Dazed came to cover the festival in Pittsburgh. So on my first visit to Europe, which was in 2012, I like looked them up and met up with some of them. And so these were that's like the only people that I knew. So I hit them up, and I hit up this guy, Charlie, who was editing the magazine Dazed at the time.
Okay.
And I said, hey, man, I'm working for Cranky now. Here's some releases. And then just as an aside, I was like, by the way, I've been writing about labor and workers' rights for the past couple years. And then he was like, hey, why don't you write something about labor for the magazine? And so I wrote about weed dispensary workers organizing, and then I wrote about a worker-owned peep show in San Francisco that was closing down. So kind of these like quirky, like labor stories that would work for a cool magazine.
Vice magazine
Yeah,
era.
yeah, exactly. So those were my first two like real published pieces.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Did you get paid?
No.
Oh, sounds about right.
No, they owed me money, but I was like too cowed
You're like,
to
but
like
there was an
chase
error.
it
There was an
down.
error on the invoice or something.
They just stopped responding to my emails, you know.
Oh.
But Charlie's great anyway. It was like
It's fine. Yeah.
yeah,
You're water under the bridge.
yeah, it's cool.
Um,
I don't need the $20.
Dang, but this part is why I do this podcast, is like, you know, like we like music, and I want people listening, you know, like younger people hopefully will listen at some point in history, because the internet is forever, and see the path to get to these places where you can participate in the music industry and make a living, you know, like this is your first published story, you know, like cool, you know, like maybe your mom doesn't quite see it yet, but looking back, maybe in 10 years she'll realize that, oh, you're okay, and this was a moment for you, like oh, I can be a journalist.
Yeah.
And even though, you know, journalism is I don't even know how you get paid anymore. You just like write invoices to somebody and hopefully you get paid. I don't know. And so you start writing for days. Did this become a regular thing now, or this just was kind of like a resume builder?
I wrote a couple things for them, and then it was odd. Like, it was when that Vice vertical, their dance music vertical Thump was around, and somebody brought it to my attention that they were looking for writers. So I started writing for them, and I wrote a few pieces for them, and then I started writing for Accelerator, just like very naturally. But I still had no idea, to get back to your point, I had no idea how writing pieces for between $50 and $300 would ever pay my rent.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is enjoyable.
Yeah.
And then,
But you seem like you'd like to meet people.
Yeah.
And you're also genuine. You don't like the conversation to end, so you tend to keep asking questions.
yeah, totally.
So that's it suits you, you know.
Yeah, and like it was interesting. It was also like nice to like support little labels and like write about them in these places, and I could always write, and then yeah. So the way I started working for RA was one day I was at Amoeba, and DJ Quick came in, and
I wouldn't even know what he looks like.
yeah, I didn't either actually.
Somebody else was like that.
I didn't recognize him
Yeah.
immediately, and he came up, and he was showing me I was ringing him out at the register, and he was showing me a Delphonics record that he had bought for like $2, and it was warped, and he was explaining to me how you can put a
unwarp
record
it.
in the oven,
Yeah.
and
Sounds like a real record digger.
and
I've definitely done that too.
yeah, and I was like, yeah. So what are you doing in the neighborhood? I was always make conversation because I like to talk to people, like
Yeah,
you said, and
yeah.
ask them questions. And he's like, yeah, my studio's around the corner. And I was like, oh yeah, like who do you work with? And he's like, oh, you know, like right now I'm working with DeBarge, and like, and I was like, who is this person? Like, and so he left, and then the next guy comes up, and somebody tells me, they're like, that was just DJ Quick.
Who was tailing DJ Quick?
Yeah, the next guy comes up, and I'm like, hey, DJ Quick was actually just here, because I think he was buying a DJ Quick CD. It was my friend, and it was a guy named Zed, and he was just so excited about my DJ Quick story, and
He's like, what's the address?
yeah, and then, but he came back up, and he had a friend with him, and he's like, tell my friend your DJ Quick story. Like, he was that excited about it. And then he was buying records. We started to talk, and then we were starting to talk about music, and then he's like, yeah, I'm a professor at the New School in New York, and I'm just out here for the summer. I come out to LA for the summer. And then I was pretty new to LA at the time still, and he's like, I was like, he's like, yeah, do you want to hang out? You want to like get a drink or something like that? So we got a drink and we like bonded over like Nile Rodgers and just like random shit we were into. And then a former student of his worked for RA and gave him.
Who was that?
It's this woman named Donnell who's a booking agent now.
I don't know.
But she gave him that DJ Sprinkles double, that mix that he did, like when dance floors stand still.
Yeah.
It has like Braxton Holmes and like
I can't.
it's a good mix. It's like real deep.
I don't know. I don't get it. Sorry.
You would like these tunes. It was like Keys and Tronics ensemble, like Calypso of House and like.
I don't know any of that.
You know that.
I always try to. I really like the idea of DJ Sprinkles, and I try to listen to it, but I kind of instantly forget what it sounds like. It's one of those weird
So
things. It like just
it washes over.
it goes right through me.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like a fortet or something.
But she was.
Sorry.
But my friend Zed, who I'm staying with in New York now, we're like really close friends from like that one DJ Quick thing at the register.
Jeez.
Yeah. He was like, hey, my old student Donnell, she's talking about the same stuff as you. Like, you guys should meet up. So Donnell came over one night with like a bottle of champagne. We hit it off, and the next day she's like, hey, you should start writing for RA. And I wrote a review. I think I reviewed the House of Doors 12-inch on Mood Hut, which basically sounds like a New York house record.
Mm.
And I remember the editor sent it back 3 times saying like that my review sucked and I needed to fix it. So I was like, this is never going to work out. I don't see how this is the case.
Oh, but if they're putting the effort in to send it 3 times, there must be some.
Yeah, I guess that's it. That's exactly it. If it was like so bad,
They wouldn't.
yeah. If it was like totally.
But what was their criticism of it? Too long or not?
I think that here's something that I think applies to like writing and art in general, where, you know, when you like develop some skill and you're really eager to show it off, like where
A little too big of words or something.
you got it.
Flowery or
What's the musical equivalent, would you say?
solos.
Yeah. A solo's fun here and there.
Side chain compression.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. There you go. So you
So
just do
tricks and too many tricks.
Yeah, whereas the real masterful stuff is
You don't
being
know.
able to be eloquent but concise.
Yeah,
You know?
it is a little annoying when you read a review and you're like, this guy uses this thesaurus, or like a.
Maybe they just know those words.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, that's not how the thinking works.
Yeah. Yeah.
The cycle's not that deep. I mean, it should be, but it's not. So you got a job at RA. This is freelance still.
No, it's just like putting
Or
in a
not even-
review once in a while, and then here's the hustle part. This is the only part of this story that doesn't involve just some random element of chance. I was still doing PR, and I was doing PR for the label 100% Silk.
But is there some seems like those two are. Is there a conflict of interest between those two?
In that case, I was like writing. I had written like just like a handful of reviews, and
Okay.
there is a conflict of interest. But and that's something that I still navigate to this day.
Yeah.
But in that instance, I would just never review anything that I had anything to do with professionally. And I was only like reviewing like a random record here and there, and I
Yeah.
was reviewing regularly for Accelerator as well. So at the time, actually, my jobs were, I was working at Amoeba 25 hours a week, and I was working with Brian Foote 25 hours a week, and then I had a regular job at Amoeba as well, and then I went to South by Southwest because we were participating in a showcase, and because I knew all the RA people would be there, and I knew they were trying to expand in the U.S. So I was like, oh, I should just like go down and meet them. Or
Yeah.
whatever.
So just a little. So we keep talking about RA. This is residentadvisor.net,
Yeah.
and it's a ticket sales company.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it,
It's
they
an electronic music magazine.
no, it's not. They sell tickets on the internet, and it's disguised as a electronic music magazine.
It's still a magazine.
They do put content up every day, and I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
But the way they make their money is they take $1 off every ticket sold through their website.
That's correct.
It's very genius because it's totally. If you don't think about it, you don't even notice.
Totally. But you were.
So yeah,
I was saying. You were defining resident advisor, and I was saying it's a electronic music magazine, and you're saying it's a ticketing website. And I think the answer is it's both. Obviously.
But I mean the I didn't
profit model.
I didn't have any idea. I had I went to London one time, and the Australian guy's name is
Aaron Coltate.
Aaron Coltate. Sorry, Aaron. I went to go meet him because I had a good. He always seemed like a nice guy,
He had a nice feature on you.
and I don't know, it was before that or after that, I can't remember now. And I just wanted to see the RA office, and I went there and I was like, man, this is nice. And I was like, how does this pay for it? And he was like, tickets. And I was like, all right. Now I get it. And like, cause I've never bought a ticket on RA ever in my life. If I have to buy a ticket, I won't even go, Like
Yeah, what's the last ticket that you bought in general?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Like probably like Drake or something.
Drake. Yeah?
I really can't remember. No, we paid to go to Magic City. We paid to go to the Weird Science Party.
Oh, that's cool.
Because it's like a community thing. And
yeah.
When Ann I was here, we paid
nice.
$10 each.
Big
sorry,
spender.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I worked there.
Yeah,
so
no,
you
understood.
shouldn't have to pay.
Yeah,
to work
I get
there,
it.
So yeah, you got this job at Resident Advisor, and I just started dogging it because I'm a jerk. But
no.
But I think it's a great. It's people use it, and it's a useful thing, and there's a community to it. I was a little upset when we lost the comments and the forum and stuff like that. But was there still forum when you worked there?
No, the forum was done away with at that time, and I was there for most of. Well, first of all, I became like a part-time news writer, and so I was just writing news and writing occasional reviews, and then I got a full-time offer from RA.
And did they make you quit the other jobs? Or
I did quit the other jobs at that point, but at some point,
it was unspoken though. Just kind of like you work for RA now.
It's kind of complicated actually. Like basically at some point I was working part-time for RA, working at Amoeba, and doing PR and doing various freelance things. So I was probably like on the clock like 80 hours a week or something.
Yeah.
And then RA made me a full-time offer. I just couldn't keep it up essentially. And yeah, in retrospect it's like you can't do PR and be a full-time music journalist. That's just not going to work.
No, somebody's going to get mad at you somewhere,
Somebody's always going to be mad at you.
Yeah, well,
like
but that's one of those things, you're not doing it right if you don't have haters or whatever the rap language is.
I think that's true. I mean, to be honest, the only things I like actually feel bad about at RA are when there's a label that I believe in or an artist that I believe in that I fully intend to support, and that I even tell that I'm going to do something for, and I don't come through with that. And that's only happened that's happened like 2 times that I can think of.
What are you gonna do? You can only as long as you're honest about stuff. I think it's okay. So I don't know. I mean, this is there's a whole can of worms that we could talk about. Like because you are a music journalist, and I don't know where to begin or what to start with. It's kind of like there's so many like taboo subjects, and so many things that we're not even allowed to talk about.
Just go in, man.
I don't know where to start,
Well,
you even from the time you started, which what you said is 2014 until now 2019, things have changed, like
massively.
The internet, even just from something like, you would have let's just start. We'll start with the there was a forum and a community, and it was taken away, and then then after that, you would have a review or you would have a news story, and there would always be comments, and that was taken away. And I don't know what year that happened, but that seemed like a really weird thing to me.
That was
And what were you there
yes,
for the discussion of that, or
I believe that was 2017 and maybe ended 2017.
it was just too much trouble to keep up with?
No,
it,
actually, it was 2000. It was last year. It was
Yeah, it's pretty
2018.
recent.
Yeah. If you look at a review from 2012, I don't know why you would necessarily do that, but yeah, you're curious about
people read the internet.
what's like a good record that came out in 2012.
I don't know, Lindstrom.
Okay, like you look at a record of like review of I Feel Space, and on RA, and there will be 27 comments under it, and
There was a voting system also.
yeah, an upvote, downvote, and
Like Reddit.
and many of the comments will be like, "Oh, I love this new Norwegian sound. Like this is great." And then somebody else will be
But
like,
the PR guy wrote that.
"Yeah," and then I love this new Norwegian sound. But then somebody else will be like, "Oh, cool, like space disco, like that's not cool, like that's
Boring.
been done, like yeah, like Patrick Adams plus Italo disco, like that's
Yeah.
not cool at all." Like it's more of like a spirited exchange of ideas at that time. And then you fast forward to 2017, and it's like only just stans who are just like, best RA article ever. Thank you so much for posting this. And then the other half is just like just trolls.
It was Poke the Panda.
Poke the Panda? You were?
No, wasn't that one of the...
I remember Pro Angel Wings. He was
Pro
like
Angel Wings, that was what it was.
He's like the most famous troll. But it was just only trolls.
I think all the trolls are Jexopolis.
He loves the RA comments, I've heard. But the what I'm saying is that the dialogue just diminished and went from being something more akin to the message boards that you posted on growing up, where it was like a lively sort of comical exchange about music, to just being more along the lines of like a YouTube comment or something like that. And I think that they couldn't justify that, especially you see like the shit that like Boiler Room is getting for comments these days and stuff like that, where it's just like if you especially like if you leave like people out there to be abused by random strangers on the internet, there's only so much that time that you can do that.
But my point, I'll play the other side of the argument.
Yeah.
Even if I don't truly believe it, but maybe I do, is that if you can't take that, then you shouldn't be an artist.
Like
It's like what you learn when you go to art school is like how to take criticism.
you're
Like
saying if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen.
yeah, I mean, if
No, but the thing is,
so what? Like, so what? The sticks and stones may break my bones. I don't know.
I don't agree when, like, I'll just say this. There have been times when comments are moderated because they're negative,
Yeah.
and I don't think that they cross over into the line of harassment,
Yeah.
and they've been, like, deleted. And I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
Like, you should be able to take, and there is so much glad-handing
Yeah.
in today's, like, social media world.
It's the huge comment now with, like with Twitter is like, what is the line to where you can moderate or not? And I guess that's the line they decided was that we're just not going to mess with this and get rid of it.
No, but I do think that if I'm saying like that DX line sounds like garbage and you don't know how to program drums, that's one thing. But if I'm saying like, oh, who is Peggy Goo's ghost producer, then that's like a different nature of comment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like,
I'm not sure if they're
yeah.
different.
Really?
Yeah, because I don't know. Like there's no. The problem is you have to define it, and you can't. So what is it? I don't know. Like, just because it hurts somebody's feelings, or I don't know. But I get, maybe that is the right decision by talking to you, is to not have it. Like, that way you don't even have to think about this. Like, because you have this Twitter CEO guy is going on I can't remember his name. He's going on every
Jack?
Yeah, he's going on like every single podcast, like talking about this thing, like comments or who to be censored and what is hate speech and all this stuff. And these seem like pretty smart people, and they're successful, and they have a lot of time to think about this, and they've seen it grow too. So, and I don't think they know what to do with it either.
Yeah.
And their whole content is other people's speech, and people like RA, at least you have ticket sales and you have articles, so you don't need that part of it. I guess you're taking out the social media aspect.
I mean, maybe it was as simple as that, like, paying somebody to moderate these comments.
Yeah,
Like,
that's dark.
you know what I mean?
Oof.
Like, imagine showing up every day.
But that's why it's like, the other choice would be to just leave them up. And people are like, and then I would say, you get into this weird argument where like people should, you should not be able to be on the internet anonymously. It's like you got to own that comment. If you're gonna put it down, like, we know you're a jackass. Like.
I mean,
these are like weird, like, Republican versus Democrat, conservative, liberal. I think you can break it down to these kind of viewpoints.
yeah, you can like rank these categories by political affiliation. You think?
I think you can start to.
Yeah.
I mean, philosophical or political or whatever. You can start to. I don't know that much about philosophy. But as there's these, certain things like where you have this idea where like you should do what's best for yourself, or you should do what's best for everyone. And like the argument is if everybody does what's best for themselves, like this, like Ayn Rand weird conservative, then it should be what's best for everyone else.
Yeah.
But then the people that say we should do what's good for everybody else it's different. There's a
the utilitarian idea, the greater good.
Yeah, And these have been these philosophical discussions for a really long time.
Yeah.
And since the internet is so new, it's not quite clear how it works yet. And then, so, it might have been a good decision for RA to just content only. Like, who gives a shit what this Broken Angel Wings, or I can't remember what his name was now.
Pro Angel
Wings. Like, who cares what they say? Like, why does their opinion matter? But then why does anybody's opinion matter? So it's
yeah, I mean, I think what it came down to is like women specifically, whether they were female artists or female readers of the site, felt unfairly targeted by trolls in the comments section.
Yeah.
And the decision was made to make women, non-binary people, trans people like feel more comfortable on the site. But what I was saying at the beginning is just the level of dialogue was not. Maybe 1 out of every 15 comments was like interesting. The one thing that you lose when you do away with comments is the ability for users to give feedback immediately that's actually honest. Like, you missed this. You said it was their second 12-inch. It's actually their 7th. Or whether it's fact checking or whether it's just like, this article sucks. Like, why is this, like, what is your point with like posting this article? And that's something that I think is genuinely,
all right.
It's a shame to lose that.
Yeah, that interesting. I was gonna switch to something even more taboo, but I'm not.
Okay, let's do it.
I'm not going to.
I
decided no. I got to be careful. The wine is flowing.
All right, let me get some more wine. Whoa.
So just I'm gonna. This is a general journalism review question.
Mm-hmm.
Is that just a question that maybe that I have. I don't know if it's a maybe it's not general, but is when you write about stuff, do you try to stay with stuff you like, or is there? So I guess maybe the question should be, is there a point to having a negative review or writing about saying stuff sucks? Like, it's like my grandma say, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Is this some a journalism like standard thing, or do you follow it, or is it part of the ethos?
I think that for the most part, I'm looking for interesting music that I like that maybe not everybody knows about in order to give it some attention. However, the way that it typically works at RA is if it's the first release on WT Records and it's a 200 press 12-inch, and I'm not crazy about it. First of all, these days it's difficult to get a review like that run because people aren't like reading the single reviews a lot.
It's probably the only thing I read.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you're like, most people read the LP reviews or the features or something like that. But we sort of like have this thing internally where if it's like a fledgling label from like Nashville or something, and just like slamming the record just isn't the coolest thing to do, Like, just because it's expensive to put out a record, and
maybe they'll get it right on the second one.
and our job is to like support scenes, not like be like some weird disembodied
But is there
force.
is there ever a reason to say like this record is you have a system in 1 to 4, 1 to 5?
1 to 5.
And is there ever a reason to write a review about a 1.0 record?
Yeah, if it's by like somebody who is getting paid like 5 to 10,000 euros
Like
to
Sven
DJ every
Voth
night.
puts out a record, and you're going to review it and be like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
And what do you don't think that it would be better to have the space for something that you like? Well, I mean, I guess it's in the end, it's a business, so you want people to read it, and people like to read that stuff sometimes, I guess.
I think that one of the most like read reviews on the site in the last 6 months, the most read review on the site was a negative review.
What was it?
The Apparat LP.
And what is that? It's a compact?
Yeah, like related. Like it's sort of like
long?
it's like electronic, woozy electronic pop, like kind of like more music or something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, the reviewer just didn't like it, but they did a very clever job shutting it down, and that was like the most read review on the site.
It's probably like the artist reading it over and over.
But is there
how detailed are the analytics? Is it like by IP address or is it like
It's by individual user.
Yeah. It's pretty serious. I mean, and who's looking at it? Is there like is there a whole another part of RA that's looking at that, or is it just the writers, or is
it's just the writers? There's not like a separate like data.
there's
or
like a webmaster, and he's or she is sending you.
No, I can look at it.
You can look at it whenever you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what was the I'm gonna go through some questions now.
Yeah, sure.
So what was the most popular video? You make these video things in the past couple of years. Whenever, it doesn't have to, whatever time period. Like, which one was the most popular?
Actually, it was like one that I don't want to like toot my own horn, but it was
The Los Angeles one.
The Real Things Los Angeles was popular, but the most popular one was like a really short piece of content that I wrote, which was how Larry Hurd made house deep.
Oh, well, Larry Hurd is the king of it all.
It also says like deep house in the title.
In
It's
the
just
hashtag.
it's a YouTube friendly title.
Uh-huh.
And to RA's credit, for many years I just reviewed whatever the fuck I wanted, and I was able to do that.
Yeah.
Only recently has it been a little more like, well, who's going to read that? Are you sure? Like, I have to like make a case for it if
Well,
it's,
there's a lot of stuff right now.
there's a ton of stuff.
And there needs to be some filter, and
Yeah.
but it's hard too, because then there's this like anti-gatekeeper thing, so you have to like pretend that you're not a gatekeeper but you are. So it's like it's a hard time, you know.
I mean,
It might be good to ask these questions, you know.
You're a gatekeeper. You're a DJ. That means like.
I don't play very much.
But you play every week.
Nah, it's not about me, man. No, not really. I play like once a month now.
But you play every week in public, at least on the radio.
On the radio, I do radio every week.
Yeah.
But that's totally. It's not. I just play records that I stole from my work every week.
But if you were forced to play new records, then you would be a gatekeeper.
I played all new USB stick this week.
Yeah.
All promos.
So there you go, and you were a gatekeeper in that instance.
Yeah, a filter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the best you can hope for, especially in an instance where most people can listen to the music.
So we need to change that thing. That gatekeeper is a negative thing. It's a filter. Somebody has some taste somewhere that you trust. You know, you got your friend that whoever it is, you know, like the bartender or the whoever puts on the music, you trust them.
Yeah.
And you can ask, and hopefully it translates to journalists or whoever, you know, DJs.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the way that I look at music journalism, where, honestly, if I see a review by somebody who I don't think knows about music, then I'm going to be just anywhere. I'm not talking about RA specifically. Like, I'm going to say that, like, oh, well, I'm going to be like, I read the review and they're talking about, like, how great, I don't know, Panic at the Disco is or something like that. I'm going to be like, well, this person's credibility in my eyes is not, this isn't the person that I trust as my filter.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, if I listen to you play new records or I listen to somebody's radio show all the time, then you're trusting them as a filter.
Yeah.
And I think, like, in this era when you can basically listen to clips of most records that you'd buy, at least,
Instantly.
yeah, then, like, the purpose of the journalist is to provide context, like, and to be like a filter that's similar to a DJ or something.
Who are the big ones now? Like, I mean, you would think like a classic one would be like John Peel or somebody like that. You know, are there like some modern day people that you would trust? Is it DJs now, or is it just like where has it gone to? Like, who are the filters? Like, it almost seems like it's a Spotify algorithm. You know, it's like.
What do I trust personally?
Yeah, or maybe both. You know, what do you trust, and what do you think is affecting the people?
Personally, like, I've been enjoying certain journalists, like radio shows, like a lot of online radio.
Who are the certain journalists?
What journalists do I really like?
Yeah.
That, like, turn me on to new music.
Yeah. Well, maybe
actually, like, the people, to be like 100% honest, like, in terms of new stuff, like, it would be mailers from record stores. So it's the Low Company mailer from London.
Okay.
I really like their
this is
taste.
John Ty, low recordings.
No, it's like Low Company. It's like
Oh.
a record store in London, and it's like run by the people who did that label Blackest Ever Black.
Oh, okay, then no, I don't know.
And they just cover a lot of, like, really bizarre private press stuff, and some techno, but, like, a lot of post-punk.
So this is a record store mailing list.
A record store mailing list.
Okay.
So Low Company, and then Two Bridges in, you know, that guy Simon
Yeah.
who runs the store. Like, I think he does a good job of just being like, here are 5 interesting things from this week. And then typically you can go, like, listen to them on Bandcamp or something like that. And then in terms of DJs, like, people like Nose Drip, in Belgium. Like, I feel like he plays a lot of new stuff
But
and
he
a
has
lot
some.
of
He has some label.
yeah. His label's Stroom.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
dude put out really good stuff too.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah. So like certain like it's more like, especially with labels like doing a mix of old and new stuff, they end up being like a filter as well. So I'm sure like you're the same way, but you're constantly discovering old music as
Yeah,
well as
yeah.
new music, and you do it yourself.
But why do you think those two are better at it than others?
Um, I think because they have a lot of investment in what's going on, in the sense that where Simon from Two Bridges is figuring out how to distribute these records in the U.S. Like he's gone so far as to like figure out how to ship the records from Europe to the U.S. He believes in them enough to like put them in this tiny store in Chinatown,
Yeah.
and then he will still be negative about the record sometimes, like in the mail, or he'll be like,
Even
"Yeah,
though he bought it.
skip that track though." But like the rest of it's pretty cool,
Yeah.
and it's just like it just comes across as very honest.
Okay.
And then the low company people, they're just like, they just have like really good taste, but it's like a little bit like cool taste, like where it's like we like deconstructed punk and noise and like maybe some like new.
Yeah, I don't know.
Drum and
British
bass.
people are like good at it. I don't know what they like.
You think they're too slick?
No, they. I don't know. They feel like they like invented music journalism. They're like have the most time.
They do have a way of speaking about music that like
They've like I don't know. I feel like
that hardcore continuum. Are you familiar with that
No,
at all? Like
no.
it's like Simon Reynolds, the music journalist, like just wrote about how hardcore translated to like drum and bass and two step and garage
No, I don't.
in like this very like eloquent way. But yeah, like
So you get pretty deep into the music journalism. You're you read it,
I'd actually say that
but it's not even that's not
what
even
I've
journalism.
just told you, it's not even journalism.
No, it's
yeah.
but that's like your PR background. You're like appreciating this like good promotional emails, which is but it's interesting. But I think it's cool because it goes back to like that's where stuff is actually selling. Like I keep saying is like, you know, you have this thing like records don't sell anymore. You know, it's just hype. You know, it doesn't matter how popular it does on the internet. It might not translate to record sales. And I feel like real record fans are just reading like rub-a-dub reviews or
man.
whatever. You know, like they look at the new releases at Clone, and they're like, okay, I like this, and those are the people that are going to continue to buy records.
Yeah.
Versus the whatever the other stuff is.
I mean, I agree with you, and maybe that's like a very old school way of looking at it, but like
There must be some new way, but that we're not privy to. But
the new wave is like Bandcamp and
Yeah.
like insane Bandcamp digging.
But so are these people like on Bandcamp? I know like when you sell stuff, it has like the people who bought it like under it, their little pictures. They like click on it
there's a
and
social
see what
element.
else they
Yeah.
bought. Can you write messages to each other? I guess you can, but there's no like public forum on Bandcamp, is there?
I think that
Maybe there's like a Reddit group
users
or
are
something.
informed. An interesting thing about it is users are informed when when somebody else buys something because they looked at their profile.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I know like DJs who are like, oh, this other DJ just goes through every week and buys everything that I buy. And then they play it in their set, you know?
Oh,
Yeah.
biters. I mean that used to be just like it was just a little bit later in the cycle. You know, like you play with this person every week and they hear you play it and then they play it the next week.
Who are some of those people?
I don't know. They're around. Yeah. They're around. We're about to get really bad. We're not gonna get too terrible. I don't know. I mean, it's a. We could probably. I don't. Is there? Should we go on? I don't want to get too crazy. You know, you have a job to keep, and
Basically,
it's also not good. Like as we said before, like if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all.
well, I think I've been like fairly honest
Yeah.
in answering your questions. I haven't like towed the company line per se, but like the only thing that I can say about it, and maybe this is something that I should say at the conclusion, but as is obvious from like the story I told, I never I never set out to be a music journalist, and I think I'm very lucky to be in the position that I'm in. And
They give you health insurance?
yes,
Jeez.
and if you make a record, or Jessica makes a record, or John makes a record, or whoever, and they send it to me to review, no matter what I do, if I listen to the entire catalog, like over and over, and try to like make sense of it, what I do does not compare to like the blood and sweat
No.
and time that goes into like actually making a good record. I'm not saying like some like
sometimes it takes 5 minutes.
yeah, no, I mean obviously it takes 5 minutes, but that doesn't include the
the training.
yeah. So like basically like I view like my position as like I've always been primarily like a music fan.
Yeah,
Whether
well,
it's playing music or reviewing music, it's all like the extension of the same thing
Well,
to
I mean,
me.
you wouldn't exist without the musicians, or you would
Yeah.
exist, but the RA wouldn't exist without musicians.
Well, neither would DJs,
Yeah. I mean, we could get
Yeah.
pretty negative real fast if we want.
I'm not trying to get negative.
No,
I'm just like,
I'm trying not to,
yeah.
because it's really a pointless thing. But is there any other can you think of anything that you wanted to bring up before we end this? Because maybe we've been going almost 2 hours now.
2 hours.
Yeah.
Well, we were going to talk about being in playing with a acclaimed folk musician.
Oh yeah. Oh, we have to put that part of this in and more. But we've been focusing on only one aspect of your life now, and you're in a band. Well, you're not even really I don't know if it's a band, but you're hired to play the piano, the keyboard parts.
Yeah, synth and keyboard, and I wrote some of them as well.
You wrote the parts or the songs?
The parts.
And the songs. So you're writing for a woman named Jessica Pratt, and or you're not writing for her, but you're in the band for her, and she's sitting right here too. So
Yeah.
just a full disclosure. But she's not gonna make eye contact with me, so it's cool. So you're touring with her, and she writes the songs generally, and you're coming up with some parts with them. Are you part of the recording process too, or maybe not the earlier stuff?
No, not the first two records. Basically, Jessica and I also met at Amoeba.
Oh yeah.
When we were both employees there.
She was working there too.
Yeah, she was working there.
Oh wow, I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
If I didn't work at Amoeba, nothing.
Your life would be over.
I would be a insurance adjuster.
You'd be working for nonprofits doing evil things,
No, I'd be going to the store and trying to like bust companies on.
like sharp CD cover edges. So you're, but my question, what I really, this is the moment that I would like to be explained, is like she probably has like some hits from her earlier albums,
That's correct.
and you're like adding these like background stuff to them. Like, what do you think the fans think about that? Are they bummed you're like up there with her? It's like some dudes that are like totally in love with her, and like they're like, "Who's this dude playing keyboard on my shit?" Or like, so.
I mean that's
Have
a
you noticed
concern. That's a concern for sure. Like I think that
What does she tell you? Does she give you any advice, like stay in the background or like play quiet or?
I like to be in the background, Like I actually like when we line up at every show.
Yeah, you go back.
I'm like, Jessica, can you move forward a couple inches?
You're
'Cause
backline.
I can't be in front of
No.
you.
No.
Yeah.
You're
Tell her that.
You're backline.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'd rather be like completely in the background. But it's honestly been I think Jessica's music is amazing, and I was involved in the recording of the last record mainly in an advisory sense, like this sounds good, like yeah, you should go with that. And then because I sort of started playing live with her on an emergency basis, because promoters were expecting 2 people, and as opposed to 1.
Oh, because what the tracks had some multi-track stuff.
Because she had toured with accompanists in the past.
okay.
Yeah. So we started out. That's how it started. Essentially, I was like, well, maybe I could put something together.
You just hold down like a C chord or something.
Yeah, just like, and then it became a little more like I'm writing parts for these songs so we can play them live, and some of those parts made it onto the record. So like I'm on 3 tracks on the record, but what you say about like people who have been like huge fans of Jessica's forever, and it's like, oh, there's this like new guy up there like fucking around with synths and stuff. Like, what's
in
what's
the
up?
background, man.
Yeah. But it's also like make sure that you don't play anything that would
Get in her way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that would make it worse.
No, but I mean, I don't know you guys super well, but I've seen you over the years, and you still seem to get along pretty well. So it must be going okay. She still hangs out with you. You know?
I mean, she hung out through our entire 4-hour-long conversation.
Yeah, well, I got air conditioning. It's not that. It's not that bad.
No, I mean that's like a great test. It's like we've played maybe 40 shows this year in Europe and the U.S.
Are there?
Or maybe
have you had a screaming match?
No.
No screaming. That's good.
Yeah. Like, and I think that's like a testament. It's probably like due to her being conflict adverse, though. Like I'm a person who occasionally has the occasional argument, but but yeah. I mean that's been a really nice thing, and it's also nice because I see like all my techno friends on tour as well. Like they come to the show, they seem to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like, and that's like the best thing about being able to do it is just like seeing your friends in other cities, and that's the best thing with like.
No, but I don't see. For me, I don't even. It's not separate. It's like music friends.
Yeah,
like
totally.
all the scenes should be together, and it's weird that they're not.
Yeah, that's something that I've been like thinking more recently as well. Like,
yeah, RA could also sell like different kinds of tickets.
There are people like trying to make ticket deals every day, and that's their only job.
You should build their, jang-a-lang-a-lang instead of the boom, boom, boom. Get a little. You should just ask. Maybe.
But I like what you were saying earlier about just wanting everything to be together, and that's like the initial parties I threw that had DJs at them was sort of the same concept.
Yeah, you have a band and some DJs after.
Yeah, and like I really love that, and a lot of times when I think about music, like there will be like I've really enjoyed like mixes where it's like a real music head playing, like a dance music person like playing guitar music or something like that, and I've tended to see like less and less in genre.
I noticed I did my radio show this week. I did from the USB. I noticed that I went through promos like for 4 or 5 hours, and I noticed that, and when you do that, it's a split between reissues and new music, and I noticed that the stuff that caught my ear recently had a rock element to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that that's a trend to me. Like this, whatever this weird thing, it seems kind of like a flash in the pan to me. This whole like, whatever electro, then jungle, drum and bass, and this like gabber. Like I don't even know. Nobody really liked that ever. Like electro is cool if you listen to like Scorpio or something, but I don't know. No one. That wasn't like a popular thing.
Mm-hmm.
And drum and bass is so macho. It's weird. Like you're gonna like girls at your party, like.
Yeah. I guess like people are focusing on like the '94.
Yeah.
Like
I hope it goes to the rock thing a little bit next, or at least that you can have a band play, like like you said before, Happy Mondays or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like acid house band, or I don't know. We'll see. Have you noticed? Like you're on the cutting edge or whatever supposedly of the promo lists, and is there like a new thing coming that you see on the horizon, or is it just the cycles are so quick now that I don't have any? I don't
actually think the cycles are that quick in electronic music now, like as compared to like rap music or something, where like today's biggest star, like
they got like 3 weeks.
Yeah, man, like becomes like they'll have trouble following up their big single. I think electronic music is moving slower than that. Whereas like trance and progressive, like a cool version of progressive house, are like kind of like back a little bit.
Tribal.
I mean, I do like the trend where people are playing slow. I think that I mean I think that that's just because that like appeals to me
Because you're
personally.
getting old.
Yeah, I think that's probably it. But like I like that people can like get out there and like play a dance floor set at like 105 100 right now. And I think the reason I think that's interesting is because like the more restrictions that you have on music that you DJ or you make, where it's like okay, like straight down the middle, like 120, 125, 128, like the more like the more you're like likely to fall into conventions and stuff like that.
But I mean, it's weird to me. Like I'm really into SoundCloud lately for some reason. It like got so much better lately because it seemed like everybody left.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you go to these mixes and it's like you can just predict exactly what it's gonna be like. It's like a couple of start off with some ambient thing and then slowly build into this thing and a couple African songs. And then like a little breakbeat thing and some house, but it all sounds the same, and they're like trying to play different genres. It's so weird. I don't know where I'm going from this.
I
but
think
this
that's
is
people like trying to like imitate your boy Hooney, like people like that, like who do that very well.
So like a wannabe Deck Mantle Festival set.
I mean, there is something to be said for the prevailing like good taste.
Yeah.
Where it's like everything is in such good taste these days, where it's like, and I think I play records as well, and like I DJ, like I try to like keep that pretty low key due to writing about dance music, but I fall into that as well, where it's like I'm gonna play this spiritual jazz thing into this ambient thing into like this like.
But why is it that some people can do it and it's okay, and some people like Hooney can do it for some reason? It's like cool,
I think he's just been doing it for a while.
Except for when he plays Latin, I always get mad. It's so weird when he plays Latin music.
Like what sort of Latin music?
I don't know. I just he has this. He goes into like a little. Maybe I haven't seen him play in so long. I don't know. I would maybe I'm just being a jerk.
Check out the Hooney release on WT Records.
Oh,
it's a nice one.
Yeah. Stole it from Prince Thomas.
Why can some people do it? Because they're good at it. They practice it. Like
I mean,
whatever.
For him, knowing him for so long, I know that guy listens to a lot of music and he cares and he likes it, and I think that it shows.
Yeah.
Some people are doing it just because they want to be the DJ at that festival. It's not because they're playing music and like sharing it for people.
Well, like Tom Cox, like an infamous hater on the internet, once said to me, like, it used to be that you would DJ because you had a lot of music.
Yeah.
And like at some point it became like you acquired music because you wanted to be a DJ,
Yeah.
Like, and yeah, I think that
I was thinking about this today. When I was walking around, I was like, it doesn't matter how good you are now. It matters your draw. Like if you can get people to come out, then you're gonna play more.
That's always been how it is.
Yeah.
Though.
So I mean, it's a factor, and it's just how it is. It's not like good or bad, but if you're also good, then it helps. I don't know. I was thinking about it today. I was like, it does. There's a lot of people that are really good DJs and they don't play very much, but these young people that have tons of friends and they go out all the time and they meet everybody. They're gonna play all the time because their friends will come to the party, and if you're getting mad at them, you got problems. Like that's how it works. They're young people that socialize, and like people like me, like I don't go out, I don't support. Like I did, but not anymore. So like those people are gonna get the gigs, not me. Like, and if you're mad about it, then too bad.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like you've like come to a good place.
Yeah, that's why I'm podcasting.
But at least you know when you get booked, like it's only for the music, you know.
I don't know. Yeah, it's not for
Yeah.
my draw, you know. Not like bringing out 3,000 people.
Yeah, but I think that from the lowest level to the highest level, it's like sort of a popularity contest, and especially if
Yeah, it's for sure. And all art.
yeah, and if people are to extend that, if people are like just like searching on Bandcamp for the same music from like the same new labels and playing that, like their sets aren't going to be like drastically different either.
Well, that's probably way better than just playing the promos you get sent.
Oh yeah, totally. But I respect you going through all your promos.
Yeah,
and-
I mean,
yeah.
you got to do it sometimes because
Yeah.
there's a lot of good. But it's not just when I say promos. I also have a lot of. I've been doing this for a little while, and I have a lot of friends that are involved, and they also really like music, and they send me stuff.
That's your filter, man.
So I get to hear. I got a lot of cool stuff sent to me, you know.
Me too.
But then you also have these emails. You're like, oh, luxurious problems, you know. These. But
Get
but
these emails with these free music.
it cheapens music somehow. It's like, well, you're just gonna give me everything you have for free.
Yeah, I will say this. I don't think of digital music as a commodity
Yeah.
in any way.
Yeah.
And I don't really respect it as a commodity.
Yeah.
Like I think about my record collection, and like I buy too many records, and I try to.
But you don't buy music on the internet or digital.
I do occasionally, but I don't have like a meticulously organized digital collection.
Yeah.
It's all a mess, you know. And I'll probably lose it at some point.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. Like that's not like a crushing thing to me to lose all my MP3s or waves or something, you know? Like that it's more ephemeral to me.
Yeah, you got to have a product still.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's a thing that maybe it's just because I'm not touring, but I've pretty much only been playing records lately, just because I don't know. It's easy. It became easier again, or something. It's like because
I love it when you play records.
There's so much digital that it's hard, you know. And then you end up playing the same stuff because you're like, these are my 10 favorite songs. I'm just gonna play them. But with records, you're like, oh, I just got this, so I'm gonna play it.
You're gonna like give it a try at least, you know.
And I don't know. But then you're competing with these people that have their sets perfectly beat matched, you know, and they're like no mistakes.
They have their like cue points and like notes and stuff.
I mean, it's cool, but it's like, dang, man, it's weird. It's weird. It's nice to hear a bad mix, you know. We don't have any more wine. I got some weird like ginger drink that we can drink that. I think we've covered pretty good spectrum. We went over 2 hours, even with the bathroom break.
Well,
and I hope you didn't say anything you regret, and you
no, not at all.
Don't lose your job or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think like we talked about a few things, and one of them was like, obviously, like I tried to be as honest as possible while still understanding that. And yeah, I appreciate you.
It's careful. You got to be careful as a music journalist to get a target on. You got to watch out.
Yeah.
That's the answer to that.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can say about that. But Matthew McDermott, what's your middle name?
Edwin.
Matthew Edwin McDermott. Thank you very much. You should use it when you write.
Oh yeah, you know,
it's a good name.
Like lended and aristocratic.
Edwin's
flair.
not in the Bible, is it?
No, Edwin is not.
Who's
in the
Edwin?
Bible. Edwin is my father and my grandfather, actually.
So instead of being a third, you got a biblical
name and a generational middle name.
Are you the oldest?
I am.
Okay, so
that's why it took me so long to get into cool music. I didn't have like a cool
older brother,
sister.
No gatekeeper.
Yeah, exactly.
So Matthew Edwin McDermott, thank you for coming by, and I hope it was okay for you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I hope it's really an honor to be here.
And I got some weird ginger drink we can have in the other room. All right, thanks everybody for listening.
Thanks, guys.